Welcome to Royal Empire, your ultimate source for breaking royal news and exclusive palace investigations. I'm your host, and what we are about to reveal today is nothing short of historic. Buckingham Palace has made a decision that will change the royal family forever, and we have all the details. This is a story that everyone will be talking about, so make sure you subscribe right now because you won't want to miss a single update. This is not gossip. It's not tabloid chatter. What unfolded came from the very heart of the monarchy itself. After years of refusing to answer questions about Archie and Lilibet, Buckingham Palace acted in the only language it truly respects: official documents, legal, constitutional, irreversible orders, prepared behind the cold stone walls of the palace. These weren't warnings, these weren't half measures, these were final directives meant to permanently redefine who counts as royal heirs. The message was as brutal as it was clear. Archie and Lilibet's claim to royal identity has been taken away. Stripped. Gone. Not because of personal grudges, not because of emotional feuds, but because of the monarchy's oldest weapon, protocol. Let me explain exactly what this means, because this is absolutely unprecedented in modern royal history. When we say stripped away with a stroke of a pen, we are talking about official legal documents that have been prepared, signed, and filed by senior members of the royal household and constitutional advisors. These aren't draft proposals or suggestions. These are binding orders, carrying the full weight of the British monarchy behind them. The palace has made a decision, and that decision is final. Archie and Lilibet, who were born into what everyone believed was the royal family, who were presented to the world as prince and princess, have had their royal status officially revoked. Not suspended, not put on hold, but completely and permanently removed. And the reason given isn't personal feelings or family drama. It's protocol, the ancient rules that govern who can and cannot be considered a legitimate royal heir. To understand why the crown chose this moment, why it held its silence until now, and why it moved with such icy precision, we must travel back more than a century to the reign of King George V. It was 1917, Europe at war, and the monarchy itself facing unprecedented threats. The king acted then to protect the royal bloodline, and his decision would shape the destiny of Harry and Meghan's children more than 100 years later. Now, why do we need to go back to 1917? Because that's when the rules were established that are now being used to strip Archie and Lilibet of their royal status. King George V was the reigning monarch during World War I. At that time, the British monarchy was facing existential threats. Other royal families across Europe were being overthrown. The Russian Tsar and his entire family were executed. German royalty was being stripped of power. Revolution was in the air, and monarchies that had stood for centuries were crumbling. King George V realized that if the British monarchy was going to survive, it needed to be strong, clearly defined, and impossible to challenge. He couldn't have distant relatives or questionable connections claiming royal titles and weakening the institution. So, he did something that would echo through history for over 100 years. He created a legal framework that precisely defined who could and could not be called a prince or princess, who was and wasn't in a line of succession, and what requirements had to be met for royal status to be granted. These weren't just guidelines or traditions. These were laws, written in official legal language, and binding on all future generations. Hold on tight because this is not rumor. This is not chatter from the sidelines. This is Buckingham Palace itself, the core of the monarchy, finally breaking years of silence. For so long, the world asked the same questions about Harry and Meghan's children. Were Archie and Lilibet truly royal heirs? Why did the palace hide behind silence while doubts and scandals grew louder? Why did these children never appear under the same light as William and Kate's? The questions piled high. The whispers refused to fade, and the crown said nothing, until now. Think about it. For years, we've seen Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis at official events, on balconies, in Christmas cards, at coronations. They are visible. They are documented. They've been part of the royal spotlight for years. But Archie and Lilibet? They've been kept in the shadows, never afforded the same royal treatment, not in the same way. Why? Well, the truth is now coming to light. They're clearly part of the royal family's public face, but Archie and Lilibet, we've seen maybe a handful of photos, usually released by Harry and Meghan themselves, never at official royal events, never integrated into the family structure. People noticed this discrepancy and started asking questions. Why the difference? Why are William's children treated as full royals while Harry's children remain in the shadows? For years, the palace refused to comment. They maintained their characteristic silence, neither confirming nor denying the children's status. But that silence wasn't uncertainty. It was strategy. The palace was gathering evidence, consulting lawyers, reviewing documents, and preparing for this moment when they would make their definitive statement. This story is absolutely explosive. The year was 1917. With Britain in the grip of the First World War, the monarchy's very survival seemed uncertain. Foreign dynasties fell. Revolution toppled empires. And the royal family understood that only clarity and strength could keep the crown alive. King George V stepped forward with a decree known as the Letters Patent. Dry, unemotional, written in the language of law, these documents did something extraordinary. They set boundaries on who could call themselves prince or princess. No longer would titles flow freely. From then on, 3 requirements had to be met without exception. 1. The child must be of legitimate royal blood. 2. The birth had to be formally recognized and recorded by the Crown itself. 3. The child had to be connected to the Church of England through a valid christening. Let me break down each of these 3 requirements because they're absolutely critical to understanding why Archie and Lilibet are being stripped of their royal status. The first requirement, legitimate royal blood, means that the child must be the biological offspring of a royal parent and that parentage must be documented and verifiable. It's not enough to just claim royal blood. There must be official records proving the bloodline. The second requirement, formal recognition by the Crown, means that the birth must follow royal protocols. There must be royal doctors present, official witnesses, proper documentation filed with the royal household, and formal acknowledgement from Buckingham Palace. The birth can't just be announced by the parents through their PR team. The palace itself must verify and confirm it. The third requirement, connection to the Church of England through valid christening, is particularly important because the British monarch is also the head of the Church of England. Royal children must be baptized according to Church of England protocols with proper documentation and official recognition from church authorities. This isn't about being religious. It's about the legal and constitutional link between the monarchy and the church. These were not ceremonial guidelines. They were binding rules designed to protect the monarchy from outsiders, impostors, and political threats. For over a century, they worked, shielding the bloodline with cold precision. And for Archie and Lilibet, they became the bars of a cage. They could never escape. Why did King George V make these rules so strict? Because he was thinking centuries into the future. He knew that if the requirements for royal status were vague or flexible, people would challenge them, bend them, find loopholes, and eventually the whole system would collapse. By making the rules crystal clear and legally binding, he ensured that future monarchs would have a solid foundation to stand on when questions of legitimacy arose. And that's exactly what's happening now. King Charles and his advisors aren't making up new rules or being arbitrary. They're simply applying the rules that have existed for over 100 years. Archie and Lilibet are being judged by the same standards that have applied to every royal child since 1917. We are halfway through this incredible investigation, and I hope you're beginning to understand just how significant this palace decision really is. Royal Empire is the only channel giving you this level of historical context and legal analysis. If you value journalism that educates while it informs, you absolutely must stay tuned. When Archie was born in 2019, it seemed at first to be a moment of unity. The world smiled at photographs, headlines declared joy, and a new heir appeared to secure the Windsor line. But beneath the surface, trouble began almost immediately. The trouble came in the form of paperwork. Archie's birth certificate first listed his mother as Rachel Meghan Markle, her full legal name. Nothing unusual there, but then without explanation, the document was altered. Her name was erased. In its place, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Birth certificates are not press releases. They are permanent legal documents, records. Altering one is no small act. It raises questions about legitimacy, identity, and positioning within the royal register. Let me explain why this alteration is so significant. Because on the surface, it might seem like a minor detail, but in the world of royal protocol and legal documentation, it's huge. When a birth certificate is filed, it becomes an official government document. It's registered with the state, archived, and considered a permanent record of that person's entry into the world. Changing a birth certificate after the fact requires going through official channels, providing justification, and creating a paper trail. In most cases, birth certificates are only amended to correct genuine errors, like if a name was misspelled or wrong information was accidentally recorded. But this wasn't a correction of an error. This was changing accurate information to different information. Why would anyone do that? And more importantly, who authorized it and why? Meghan claimed the palace forced her hand. Palace aides denied it. Neither side backed down. And in that tug-of-war, Archie's first legal footprint became contested, messy, and uncertain. For the monarchy, that uncertainty mattered because once cracks appear in the official record, the foundation of legitimacy is weakened, and the monarchy never forgets a crack. This dispute about who requested the birth certificate change might seem like petty, he said. She said drama, but it's actually revealing something much more important. It shows that from day one, there was confusion, conflict, and a lack of clarity about Archie's official status. Was he Rachel Meghan Markle's son? Or was he the son of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex? Those sound like the same thing, but legally and constitutionally, they're very different. One is a private citizen giving birth. The other is a member of the royal family producing an heir. The fact that this fundamental question was contested and resulted in an altered official document set off alarm bells within the palace. If they couldn't even get the birth certificate right, what else might be irregular about this birth? This investigation keeps getting deeper and more complex, and Royal Empire is here to guide you through every detail. We are not just reporting facts, we are analyzing what they mean, connecting them to history and law, and showing you the full picture. If you appreciate this level of thorough, intelligent coverage, make sure to subscribe to Royal Empire right now. Turn on all notifications so you're alerted the moment we post new content, and share this video with everyone you know who cares about the royal family. Royal Empire, where serious journalism meets royal coverage. Subscribe now. 2 years later, when Meghan and Harry welcomed their daughter, the palace was ready. Lilibet's birth in 2021 was not announced by Buckingham Palace. No formal proclamation, no royal doctors signing their names, no ceremonial recognition. Instead, the world learned of her existence through a polished press release sent from California. For centuries, royal births had been treated as national events, witnessed, documented, stamped into history. Each detail mattered. Where the baby was born, who was present, which doctor signed off, how the crown acknowledged it. In that careful process, legitimacy was sealed. But for Lilibet, none of it happened. Her arrival was celebrated by her parents, but ignored by the institution that had defined royal births for generations. To the monarchy, it was as though the baby had been born outside the walls of history. And if Archie's altered certificate raised questions, Lilibet's California birth screamed answers. The crown was deliberately stepping back, refusing to stamp its seal, refusing to claim her. The contrast between Lilibet's birth and traditional royal births couldn't be more stark. When William and Kate's children were born, there was a whole ceremonial process. The palace announced when Kate went into labor. Royal doctors were present, the birth was witnessed by officials, and then the family appeared on the steps of the hospital for a public photo op. The birth was an event, carefully choreographed and recognized by the royal institution. But with Lilibet, none of that happened. The birth was announced with a press release from California, and the royal family didn't give it the same level of recognition or formality. This wasn't an oversight, it was a deliberate act of omission. By refusing to acknowledge the birth in the traditional royal fashion, the palace sent a powerful signal that Lilibet, like her brother, would not be treated as a direct heir to the throne. And that decision, made by the royal institution, wasn't based on personal preference or family dynamics. It was based on the rules set in place more than a century ago. The monarchy's ancient protocol was being applied, and Archie and Lilibet didn't meet the required criteria for royal status. This is the reality behind the headlines, and Royal Empire is here to bring you the full story. Stay tuned as we continue to break down the legal, historical, and constitutional layers of this unprecedented moment in royal history. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future updates. Attended the birth at an approved hospital. An official notice was posted on an easel outside Buckingham Palace announcing the birth. And within hours, William and Kate appeared on the hospital steps with their newborn for the world to see. This wasn't just tradition. This was the monarchy's way of officially claiming and recognizing the child as a legitimate royal heir. But with Lilibet, absolutely none of that happened. There was no palace announcement, no royal doctors, no official notice, no ceremonial presentation. Just a press release from Harry and Meghan's California PR team saying, "We had a baby." From the monarchy's perspective, this was Harry and Meghan having a private family moment, not the birth of a royal heir. And by not following any of the established protocols, they essentially disqualified Lilibet from royal recognition before she was even a day old. For Meghan, the baptism of her daughter was meant to heal wounds. She announced it proudly: photos, smiles, joy radiating from California. But in royal law, joy does not matter. Protocol does. And behind the palace walls, whispers began to spread. Lilibet's baptism had never been formally recognized by the Church of England. In the monarchy's eyes, that was not a baptism. It was a gathering, a family event, a ritual without recognition, because a royal christening is not just about holy water and hymns. It is a formal seal that binds the child to the church, to the crown, and to history itself. It is the invisible ink that writes their name into Britain's royal record. Let me explain the constitutional significance of a royal christening, because this is where the third requirement from King George vs 1917 letters patent comes into play. The British monarch is the supreme governor of the Church of England. This isn't just a ceremonial title. It's a real constitutional role that ties the monarchy to the church in a legal and official way. Every royal child must be baptized in the Church of England, following specific protocols. The christening must be performed by a Church of England clergy member. It must be documented in church records, and it must be acknowledged by the Archbishop of Canterbury or another senior church official. This creates an official link between the child and the institution that the British monarchy is constitutionally bound to. Without this link, the child cannot be considered a legitimate royal heir. We are approaching the critical part of this story, and I want to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. Royal Empire is building a comprehensive case piece by piece, showing you exactly why the palace made this historic decision. No other channel is giving you this depth of coverage. Subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and stay with us as we reveal the final devastating consequences for Harry and Meghan. Royal Empire. Truth, not spin. Subscribe now. By holding the ceremony in California without the Crown's sanction or the Church's acknowledgement, Meghan and Harry did not strengthen Lilibet's place, they weakened it. Instead of being written into history, she was pushed further into limbo. A child celebrated by her parents but unseen by the institution that decides who counts as royal. Think about what Harry and Meghan were trying to do versus what they actually accomplished. They wanted to have a private, intimate christening for their daughter on their own terms in their California home. On a human level, that's completely understandable. They didn't want British tabloids and photographers documenting every moment. They didn't want palace officials dictating how their daughter's baptism should be conducted. They wanted control, privacy, and intimacy. But what they failed to understand, or chose to ignore, is that by having the ceremony completely outside the established royal and church framework, they were essentially ensuring that the ceremony would have no official weight. It's like trying to get legally married without a marriage license. You can have a beautiful ceremony, you can exchange rings and vows, but without the official documentation and recognition, you're not actually married in the eyes of the law. Lilibet's christening, no matter how meaningful to the family, counted for nothing in terms of her royal status because it lacked the official church recognition required by the 1917 letters patent. For Meghan, the threat was commercial. For Harry, it was blood. Sources close to the palace described late nights when Harry would pace the halls of Frogmore Cottage, wrestling with the reality that his children were being pushed further and further from the royal fold. There were reports of private conversations, moments of frustration, as Harry realized just how much control the palace had over their lives and the fate of their children. It wasn't just a matter of personal feelings, it was about their place within the institution of the monarchy, and that place, in the eyes of the palace, was fading. The palace wasn't just making decisions about family dynamics, it was reinforcing centuries-old rules that can't be bent, not even by the children of one of the most famous members of the royal family. These are not just royal customs. These are legal, binding requirements that shape the very fabric of the British monarchy. And for Archie and Lilibet, these rules were an unmovable obstacle. This investigation into their royal status is far from over, and Royal Empire will continue to break down the significance of each step in this unfolding story. Stay with us as we reveal what this all means for the future of Harry, Meghan, and their children. How things play out. They are actively rewriting history, making sure that Archie and Lilibet are excluded from the narrative of the British monarchy. These changes, while seemingly small in the grand scheme of things, carry monumental consequences. The monarchy is defined by its traditions, its records, and its hierarchy. When you erase someone from those records, you strip away their connection to that history. For Harry and Meghan, This isn't just a matter of titles or ceremonial roles. This is the erasure of their children's place in the royal legacy. This isn't just a family dispute. It's a systemic, institutional decision that will affect how future generations of the royal family are viewed, how their history is remembered, and how the monarchy itself continues to function. The royal family is a living institution, and every decision, no matter how small it may seem to outsiders, is carefully calculated to protect its continuity and legitimacy. By stripping Archie and Lilibet of their royal titles and recognition, the monarchy is making a bold statement about the importance of protocol and lineage. What does this mean for Harry and Meghan? It means that, despite their best efforts to carve out a new life for themselves, their children will forever be marked by the choices they made. It means that the children they fought so hard to protect from the public eye will now be subjected to the most painful kind of exposure: historical erasure. The royal family's decision is not just a matter of personal loss, it's a symbolic act of power, meant to remind Harry and Meghan that the monarchy is not a place where you can simply step in and out of when you please. For Harry, this decision is deeply personal. It's one thing to distance yourself from an institution. It's another to have your children pushed out of that same institution, their royal status revoked before they even had a chance to fully understand what it meant. This is a devastating blow, one that will likely haunt Harry for the rest of his life, as he watches his children grow up without the connection to their royal roots that they might have had. As we move through this story, we can only begin to imagine the emotional toll this has taken on the family. But beyond the personal drama, what's clear is that the monarchy has acted with chilling efficiency and precision. Every move, every decision has been made with the ultimate goal of preserving the institution's power, authority, and continuity. And in this case, that meant severing ties with Archie and Lilibet, no matter the personal cost to the family involved. The royal family's refusal to accommodate Harry and Meghan's children signals a shift in how the monarchy is navigating its future. It's no longer just about maintaining public appearances or shielding its members from the harsh glare of the media. This decision speaks to something much deeper: a commitment to the structure, to the rules, and to the legacy of the institution itself. Archie and Lilibet, no matter who their parents are, will not be part of that legacy. This isn't just about the children losing their titles. It's about the entire future of the royal family being shaped by decisions made today. As the monarchy continues to evolve, so too does the way it defines who belongs and who doesn't. For Harry and Meghan, this has become an impossible situation. The very thing they sought to escape from, the pressure, the control, the rules, is the very thing that has now sealed their children's fate. It's important to understand the full implications of this decision. Titles and roles are not just ceremonial. They represent a place within a centuries-old institution, a place that Archie and Lilibet will never occupy. They will never stand on the palace balcony for trooping the colour. They will never take part in the official royal events that define public life. They will never inherit a title, let alone the throne. These are irrevocable decisions that will follow them for the rest of their lives. In the coming years, as the monarchy continues its evolution, we will see whether this decision will have lasting consequences for the relationship between the monarchy and its most prominent family members. Will Harry and Meghan find a way to carve out their own legacy? Or will the shadow of this royal exclusion hang over them forever? Royal Empire will continue to keep you updated on every development in this historic story. You won't want to miss the next chapter. Keep following as we explore the complex relationship between Harry, Meghan, and the monarchy, an institution that has been shaping the fate of the British royal family for centuries. Stay tuned. Speculation swirled, they said nothing. And when the time was right, they acted. Quietly, methodically, and decisively. The monarchy is an institution built on power, lineage, and the preservation of its own legacy. It doesn't need to engage in public battles or waste energy fighting personal vendettas. It simply moves according to its laws and protocols, and over time, the results speak for themselves. Harry and Meghan may have attempted to rewrite their own narrative, but in the end, the palace rewrote theirs. This is what makes the situation so poignant for Harry. It's not about being cast aside or exiled. It's about his children being completely erased from the story of the royal family. It's a quiet but absolute rejection, a severing of any legal or symbolic ties. For Meghan, who once believed she could carve out a new life for her family outside the rigid boundaries of the monarchy, this is the final price. Her children, born into a world of privilege and potential, are now living outside that world entirely. But this erasure of Archie and Lilibet's royal status does more than just deny them titles. It erases the very idea of them ever being considered heirs to the throne. The birthright they once held, the possibility that one day they could have had a place in the line of succession, is now a distant memory. Their names, once linked to the royal family, will slowly fade into the background. They are not heirs. They are not princes or princesses. They are simply private citizens, living in California, without any official claim to the crown. What's more devastating for Harry and Meghan is that this isn't just a temporary decision. It's permanent. The royal family's actions will reverberate for generations. As history unfolds, future historians will see William's children as heirs to the throne, fully integrated into the royal family's legacy. But when they turn to look at Harry's children, they will be absent. Their names may be mentioned briefly, if at all, with no mention of royal titles, no mention of royal status. They'll be private citizens, their ties to the monarchy severed. In 100 years, the royal family story will be told, and Archie and Lilibet won't be in it, not as members of the royal family, not as heirs, not even as rebellious figures in the history of the monarchy. They'll be little more than footnotes. To the monarchy, this is the ultimate form of quiet punishment. Not a public scandal, not a feud played out in the tabloids, but a cold, calculated decision to erase their legacy. And this is where the monarchy's strength lies. In its ability to endure, to carry on, and to erase anything or anyone that might weaken its position. Harry and Meghan can speak all they want about injustice, they can continue their crusade for privacy and autonomy, but they cannot change the laws and protocols that govern the monarchy's existence. Those rules are in place to protect the institution, and they have been tested and proven over time to be impenetrable. What we are witnessing is not just the fall of a personal family saga. It's the reaffirmation of the monarchy's power over individual narratives. Harry and Meghan might have left the royal fold, but the monarchy has remained unyielding. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter how famous they are, how much media attention they garner, or how hard they try to carve out their own path. When the monarchy decides to sever ties, it does so with finality. Their children's royal identity has been erased, and there is no coming back from that. So, what does the future hold for Harry and Meghan? It's likely that they will continue to build their own legacy in the world of entertainment and public advocacy, but they will always be outside the walls of the royal family. Their children, despite the potential for personal success, will live in the shadow of this history. They will always be, in the eyes of the monarchy, private citizens with no official place in royal history. This is a story of power, of control, and of the unbreakable rules that govern the British monarchy. It is a reminder that the crown always wins in the end. It is not driven by emotion, by scandal, or by personal drama. It is driven by law, by legacy, and by the preservation of its own existence. And when you're dealing with an institution that has lasted for centuries, it's clear that no one, no matter how high profile, can escape the force of its unyielding grip. As we close this final section of our historic report, it's important to reflect on what this means for the future of the royal family. The monarchy will continue to adapt, to evolve, and to ensure that its legacy remains intact, no matter who stands on the sidelines. And for Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet, this is the reality they must now face. Royal Empire will continue to track every development and bring you the truth behind the headlines. Stay tuned as we continue to provide you with the most in-depth, exclusive royal coverage available anywhere.